Welcome, everyone, to China True Story. I'm Leo, and I'll be guiding you through today's story.
And I'm Sophie.
Imagine this. It's the early morning, January 27, 2004, sixth day of Lunar New Year in Xi'an. The city is quiet, so kind of winding down for the holidays, and then boom, a series of just violent explosions shatter everything.
Yeah, completely unexpected.
So today, we're doing a deep dive into this shocking chain of bombings. At first, the police were baffled, but it turned out to be this meticulous plot. A plot driven by a father's, unrelenting quest for vengeance. We're going to take you right from those first terrifying blasts all the way back to the tragic reasons behind it all.
It's quite a story.
Yeah. Our deep dive, it's based on a whole stack of sources. We've got police reports, news excerpts like Explosive Vengeance, A Father's Unrelenting Crusade, and another called Father's Revenge, A Descent into Despair and Violence. Our mission, really, is to pull out the key insights, help you understand not just what happened, but, the why, and the bigger picture implications when personal tragedy spirals into public violence like this.
Absolutely. It raises some tough questions.
So, okay, the chaos really kicks off in Zifang village around 2 a.m. A man named Lu, his son, is heading to the restroom. And he finds this plastic bag just sitting outside their home. Inside, oranges, but underneath, a small wooden box.
Not just a box.
No, little green light blinking, wires coming out. I mean, really suspicious looking stuff. You can only imagine that moment of realization.
Chilling. And that discovery, that was really just the very beginning. Things escalated dramatically almost immediately after that. So at 3:30 a.m. sharp, an explosion just rips through the home of a female worker, a woman named Hu, over on Yuan West Road.
3:30 a.m., okay.
Yeah. Her boyfriend had found this, gift box at their door. Looked like red date lotus seed paste,
Yeah.
He brought it inside, put it on her son Chen's bedside table.
Oh, wow.
The blast was huge, tore off doors, shattered ruined the apartment. But luckily, really luckily, Chen wasn't there. He was staying at his grandmother's that night.
Thank goodness for that.
And almost at the exact same time, another blast is reported. This one's at Wang Xing's apartment, 6th floor, in a family compound on Lianhu Road. This explosion was powerful enough it actually blew a shallow pit right into the concrete floor. People first thought maybe firecrackers, for the holiday.
Right, Lunar New Year.
Exactly. But the damage, it quickly became clear this was something much, much worse.
So back in Zifang village, where Lu's son found the first device, the police response must have been frantic.
Utter chaos. Deputy Director Wang Human, he was one of the first there, confirmed it was definitely a bomb.
Okay.
But the real problem for the bomb squad was the village itself. The roads are so narrow, the houses packed really densely together.
Right.
It meant their specialized anti-explosive tank, the heavy-duty gear, it couldn't even get close to Lu's home.
So what did they do?
Well, it really came down to individual bravery. Wang Wei, he was the deputy director of the large event department. He had to put on the bomb suit, the really heavy one, like 35 kilograms.
Well.
And approach it by hand. He carefully disarmed that first device, cut the wires to the control box, successfully.
Okay, phew.
But here's where it gets really astonishing. Just moments after he disarmed that first bomb and was moving away, a second massive explosion erupts, this time on Lu Yu's 2nd floor.
No way. A second one.
Yes. The force just knocked down police officers who were trying to secure the area. It blasted a wall apart, blew a big hole in the floorboards, and sent flames shooting up into the sky.
A second explosion.
Yeah.
That's terrifying, especially for the bomb team. Was that expected? Or did it signal something even more sinister about the planning?
It definitely points to a really sophisticated and frankly deeply malicious intent. It seems like it was designed to cause maximum chaos, maybe even target the first responders. And that level of severity, it forced the Xi'an Public Security Bureau to kick into high gear immediately. They activated their full emergency response system. The police chief himself took command, put together a special task force, over 100 detectives from different units, all focused on finding who was behind this coordinated attack.
Okay, so the immediate danger is contained somewhat, but the pressure is immense to find the bomber. What were the first leads? How did they start connecting the dots?
Well, the breakthrough really came from looking at the targets themselves. Police quickly realized that the first people hit Lu, Chen, and Wang Xing, they weren't random.
Oh, right.
And their suspicion grew when they found more explosive devices. These were at the homes of people named Dai, Li, Chang, and Ren.
More devices. Wow.
Yes. So now they had a clear, terrifying pattern, and that pattern pointed directly back to a tragedy, something that happened 5 years earlier.
Right, you mentioned that. So this earlier incident, the common thread, it revolves around a teenager, a 17-year-old student named Gao Ming. Tell us about him.
That's right. Gao Ming, he was a student at Xi'an Gao 44 Middle School, came from a pretty well-off family, apparently wore fashionable clothes, rode a nice new bike, like a high-end racing or mountain bike. And this apparent wealth, it unfortunately became a major issue. His classmate, Wang Xing, the same Wang Xing whose apartment was bombed.
The same one?
He was intensely jealous of Gao Ming's stuff, felt he was showing off, and apparently Wang Xing also saw him as a rival for a girl they both liked.
Teenage rivalry mixed with jealousy.
Exactly, and it festered. Wang Xing actually paid 200 yuan to some local youths, basically thugs, to, quote, teach Gao Ming a lesson.
Oh, this is not going to end well.
No. What happened next was just brutal. It was November 4th, 1998 in the evening. Gao Ming was intercepted by 6 guys. Dai, Ren, Li, Cheng, and Lu's son. Remember those names from the bombing targets?
Yes, the same name.
They attacked him viciously.
Yes.
Used bricks, chain locks. One of them, the reports call him Yellow Hair, hit Gao Ming square on the head with a brick. Gao Ming just collapsed, went into a coma right there on the street.
It's just horrifying. And the tragedy, unfortunately, didn't stop there. There was a critical mistake in his medical treatment initially.
Yes, a really significant misstep. He was taken to Xi'an University-affiliated second hospital, but the doctor on duty, well, despite Gao Ming complaining of a headache.
Which you'd expect after being hit with a brick.
Right. The doctor dismissed the injuries as superficial and, crucially, refused to do a brain scan, sent him home.
Oh, no.
Predictably, his condition got much worse very quickly that night. Severe headache, vomiting. Turned out he had a brain hemorrhage, severe brain tissue damage, swelling. They had to rush him back to the hospital for emergency surgery.
But it was too late.
It was the devastating outcome. Gao Ming never recovered. He died on November 15th, 1998, just 10 days after that brutal attack.
10 days. Just awful. So what happened legally to the attackers? What was the fallout?
Well, this is where it gets really crucial for understanding the father's perspective, Gao Delong. For him, the legal outcome felt like a complete injustice. The court did sentence some of them. Dai got 14 years, Li got 8, Chang got 5, and Cheng and Ren got 3 years each.
Okay, some prison time.
Right. And Lu's son, because he was underage, was sent to a work-study school. But, and this is key, Wang Jing, the one who instigated it all, who paid the others.
The jealous classmate.
Yes, he claimed he had an alibi, and he ended up only having to pay 3,000 yuan in compensation. No prison time at all.
Wow. The instigator pays a fine, and that's it. That must have been absolutely infuriating for Gao Delong.
Infuriating is probably an understatement.
Yeah. I mean, that specific outcome, where the person who really set the whole thing in motion gets such a light consequence, how does that show how these perceived failures in the justice system can just, break someone?
It's a stark example, isn't it? When the system, whether it's due to legal loopholes, maybe lack of solid evidence against Wang Xing, or whatever the reason, when it doesn't deliver what the victim's family sees as real justice, it becomes this deep personal wound. For Gao Delong, this was just unbearable. He truly believed at least one of them, maybe Dai or Yellow Hair, should have faced execution.
I can understand that feeling.
And the toll on the family was immense. His wife, Yu Fengying, suffered a complete mental breakdown. Gao Delong himself, he just spiraled. Started drinking heavily, eventually lost his job. The case was closed legally, but for him it was anything but over. It felt like a total failure.
So in that immediate aftermath, grief, alcohol, a really dark place. But then he did something surprising. He tried to find peace.
Yeah, it's quite a turn. After months of just drinking, in November 2001, he actually left home, went to Baoji seeking solace in, of all things, Buddhism.
Buddhism.
Yeah. He apparently tried to become a monk, but it didn't quite stick. So instead, he stayed at a temple, did chores, helped out. He even started doing fortune-telling, giving people readings.
Wow.
He spent 2 full years there until 2003. Just engaging with people, really trying, he said later, to move past the grief, to find a way back to some kind of normal life. And he actually thought he was getting there. He returned to Xi'an feeling, lighter, believing he might have found some peace.
That's almost heartbreaking to hear, knowing what comes next.
Yeah.
That he felt he was finding peace. It just makes his turn back to revenge feel even more, inevitable. It just shows how deep that wound really was.
It really does.
So what happened? What was the tipping point? What pushed him back over the edge and onto that path of vengeance?
It seems like it was a combination of things, small encounters that just reignited everything. First, he tried to get just a simple apology from the families of the attackers.
Just an apology.
Yeah. But he was met with just coldness, resentment. One family apparently just said, "We already paid the compensation. What else do you want?"
Oh.
Then he actually ran into one of the attackers who had been released, Yellow Hair, the one who hit his son with the brick.
Oh, wow.
And this guy apparently boasted about getting out early for good behavior, showed zero remorse. Zero.
Unbelievable.
And then, to top it all off, he saw the families of the people involved. They seemed to be doing well, building bigger houses, and the attackers who were out, riding around on motorcycles with girlfriends, just flaunting their freedom.
Yeah.
For Gao Delong, seeing all that, after the cold shoulder, after the lack of remorse,
Right.
it just solidified this profound sense of injustice. It tipped him right back over.
The rage is back, stronger than ever, and he starts planning meticulously.
Yeah.
His background as a soldier must have played a big part here.
Absolutely. His planning was incredibly detailed, and his military experience clearly factored in. He knew about explosives. He managed to get his hands on explosives and detonators from a friend, Kai Honki, and a former colleague, Shujun. They both worked in mining.
Okay, access.
Right. And he didn't just get the materials. He learned specific demolition techniques from Kai. He even bought 12 delay timers, posing as a gold mine boss to make the purchase look legitimate.
So he's gathering materials, learning techniques.
And weapons. He tried to get a hunting rifle but couldn't, so he bought a self-made revolver instead. Cost him like 3,000 or 4,000 yuan through an acquaintance.
And he tested his work.
He did. Conducted a successful test explosion near a sewage ditch to make sure his devices would actually work.
This level of planning is chilling.
And it's important to realize this wasn't actually his first time resorting to bombs. He was already a suspect in 2 earlier bombings.
Really? Which ones?
One was back on January 23rd, 2000. At the emergency room of the same hospital where his son was treated, Xi'an Gao University-affiliated second hospital, 7 people were injured in that one.
He blamed the hospital for his son's death.
Exactly. And the other was March 1st, 2001, at the home of a man named Xia. Apparently, Gao Delong had some kind of gambling dispute with him.
So a pattern of using explosives to settle scores.
Seems like it. He even tried to bomb the hospital's neurology department again on January 26, 2004, literally the day before the main string of bombings we're talking about.
What happened with that one?
Incredibly, a cleaner just found the device and threw it away, thinking it was just trash.
Wow. Close call.
Yeah. And for this main plot, the 2004 bombings, his preparation involved getting access. He rented 4 different rooms in Zifang village using aliases he got through an acquaintance. These rooms gave him access keys, even, to the homes or buildings associated with Dai, Ren, Chang, and Lu the attackers.
He's literally embedding himself near his targets.
Precisely. He also had a relationship going with a woman who owned a dry cleaning shop. She helped him out, rented him an apartment in a different community, bought him essentials, gave him spending money.
Did she know what he was planning?
She got suspicious, noticed strange powders in the apartment. She got scared about what he might be up to and quietly moved her own things out. The last time she saw him was January 25th, 2004, the day before the bombings. She said he had a pistol with him then.
So the stage is set. January 26, 2004, the night before the big explosions, he puts the plan into action. How did he manage to hit so many places? Did he have help?
Well, the execution was chillingly calculated. He actually roped in an accomplice, but she seemingly had no idea what was really going on. Her name was Zai Yongping, described as a drug addict. He paid her 100 yuan, told her he was a drug dealer and needed help delivering gifts to his downlines.
Using her as an unwitting delivery person for bombs.
Exactly. They took a taxi together, driving around the city, dropping off these deadly gifts at the homes of Li, Wangjing, Cheng. And they even made another stop at the hospital, Xi'an Gao University-affiliated second hospital.
Hitting all his perceived enemies.
Then Gao Delong went back to Zifang village alone. He had apparently scouted it earlier, disguised himself with a fake beard and glasses to plant the devices in those 4 rooms he'd rented. He activated those timers. And for Dai and Lu, the 2 he seemed to hate the most. He set up double explosives. 2 liquefied gas tanks, a barrel of gasoline, plus double explosive devices at each of their places. Just maximum destruction planned.
After orchestrating all that, this wave of destruction,
Yeah.
he then turns inward, tries to end his own life. What does that tell us about his state of mind then?
It really suggests a couple of things. Maybe a feeling of, my work here is done, a sense of grim completion, or perhaps just a desperate attempt to avoid facing the consequences. So after setting off the explosions, he rides his motorcycle to his son's old school, Sheen 44 Middle School. That's where he planned to commit suicide.
At the school.
Yeah. He actually strapped explosives to himself, tried to detonate them 4 times, but they failed. Maybe they were old, maybe damp, who knows?
Wow. Then what?
He pulled out that pistol he had, aimed it at his temple, fired.
Mm.
The gun made a loud noise. Smoke came out, but it only caused a minor skin injury, didn't penetrate. He apparently paused and thought, is it my son not letting me die?
That's eerie.
Yeah. So after that failed attempt, he just abandoned the suicide plan, got back on his motorcycle, and drove to Baoji. His plan then was apparently to try and collect some money that Wang Xing owed him.
So he flees. But the police are obviously in high gear now.
Yeah.
How did the manhunt conclude?
It was swift, considering the chaos. The police worked nonstop around the clock for 14 hours straight. They managed to find and safely disarm or dismantle 9 different explosive devices across Xi'an.
9 devices disarmed safely. That's incredible work.
Absolutely. They recovered a huge amount of material. 62 electric detonators, 49 fire detonators, over 19 kilograms of explosives, and crucially, no casualties from dismantling those devices. That rapid, focused response was key.
And Gao Delong.
They tracked him, found him at Wang Xing's home, the very person he was trying to collect money from in Shenkang district, Baoji. He was arrested there on the morning of January 29th, 2004.
What did they find on him?
Under his pillow, they found another explosive device and that modified starter pistol he tried to use on himself.
So he's caught. What was the interrogation like? Given the scale of his crimes, I imagine it was intense.
You'd think so, but it was actually surprisingly unconventional. Gao Delong apparently went into the police station fully expecting harsh treatment, even determined to resist, maybe bite his tongue to kill himself. He had this desire to die quickly, as reports put it.
Ready for the worst.
Right, but the police took a different approach. They treated him with, well, respect. Offered him food, water, cigarettes. They never raised their voices.
Really? That's unexpected.
It is, and it worked. After 12 hours of this calm, almost empathetic interrogation, Gao Delong just broke down, crying. He confessed everything, his motives, every detail of the bombings, all the perceived injustices he felt. It seems that approach, focusing maybe on understanding the trauma behind the acts, was what ultimately got him to talk.
So confession secured. The legal system now has to deliver its verdict. What was the final outcome for Gao Delong and the people who helped him?
The final reckoning was pretty definitive for Gao Delong. He was sentenced to death. And he accepted it. Didn't appeal the verdict at all.
He accepted it.
Yeah. As for the others involved, the ones who helped him get explosives or acted as accomplices, like Hishring, Shuzong, Zayongping, Shujun, Kai Honki, 6 people in total were criminally detained. They received prison sentences ranging from 4 to 8 years.
And the judge's reasoning?
The presiding judge made it clear. He acknowledged Gao Delong's grief was profound. The family's trauma was sympathetic, absolutely. But he stated that grief could never justify the criminal actions, the terror he inflicted. Interestingly, Gao Delong himself, in the end, seemed to agree on some level. He acknowledged his actions broke the law, caused harm, and said he was willing to accept whatever fair judgment was passed down. It's this complex mix of acknowledging his suffering while condemning his actions.
And right before his execution, there was one last request he made. Something quite poignant.
Yes, a final request to his wife. He asked her to finally take down the altar she had kept for their son for 5 years. He wanted his son to be buried properly.
Bury his son.
Yes. And he specifically said he did not want his own ashes mixed with his son's ashes. He felt his own soul was, tainted by his crimes. He said he believed he had done what he had to do for his son as a father, but that his actions had stained him beyond repair.
Wow. That's incredibly heavy. A desire for his son's peace, but a recognition of his own damnation, almost.
Exactly. It feels like this final, maybe twisted act of fatherly devotion, but coupled with this deep personal understanding of the darkness he'd embraced.
This whole story, it's just layers upon layers. You have this immense grief of a father, the sting of perceived injustice from the legal system, and then this descent into incredibly calculated, cold-blooded violence.
It really is fascinating in a tragic way. You see the complex interplay, don't you? Personal tragedy colliding with the justice system, maybe its limitations, and then the devastating consequences when someone crosses that line, chooses revenge over anything else. It really forces you, I think, to consider the sheer weight of loss and how thin that line can be between seeking justice and just giving in completely to vengeance.
Yeah. It leaves us with a pretty powerful question, doesn't it? What does a case like Gao Delong's really reveal about us, about the human capacity for both incredible, enduring love and this all-consuming destructive hatred? And you can't help but wonder, how might things have been different if maybe the initial medical care or the court sentencing or Gao Delong's encounters after trying to find peace, if any single step in that narrative had gone differently, could this explosive ending have been avoided? Makes you think. If you found this exploration compelling, even though it was tough, please do subscribe to our channel, China True Story. We cover a whole range of topics, true crime like this, social issues, urban legends, cultural insights.
Yeah, we've got more deep dives lined up, and we're already working on the next one, so definitely stay tuned.
And hey, if you have your own true stories, or perhaps strange things you've come across here in China that you think would make for a good deep dive, please reach out. We'd genuinely love to hear from you.
Absolutely. Your stories could be our next exploration.
All right, that's all from us for this session. Goodbye for now.
Goodbye, everyone.